Hello, Freejord. I really appreciate you watching and commenting. Now, let's listen to the story.
"This seat's for close family," my cousin Brandon said while shoving me aside. I snapped. "Then let your real family pay the damn $4,700 bill." I walked out and left them to rot in their own mess. I had always felt that my relatives never saw any real value in me growing up. I was the odd one, the quiet kid who never fit into their world. While my cousins bragged about wild weekends and flashy clothes, I stayed buried in books, learning, working, and planning my way out. I never cared about impressing anyone, least of all my selfish, full-of-themselves family. Then life took a turn, and I ended up succeeding. I pushed myself, built my own path, and made more money than any of them ever had. Not that they admitted it, they pretended not to care until there was something in it for them. Which brings us to tonight. I had no intention of seeing them again. I had avoided these gatherings for years. They always felt fake, filled with forced laughter, cold stares, and reminders that no matter what I achieved, I would always just be that nobody. But my mother, bless her, begged me. "Just come to one dinner, Robert. It's been years." I gave in, and I regretted it the moment I walked into that overpriced steakhouse. The whole family was already there, sitting around a long, fancy table, laughing loudly like a scene from a show. My cousin Brandon, my biggest childhood bully, sat in the middle, grinning like he owned the place. When he saw me, his smile widened. "Look who finally showed up." Brandon leaned back in his chair, his voice loud enough to draw attention. "Didn't think you still remembered us, big man." I forced a small smile and tried to sit at the far end of the table. Brandon raised an eyebrow. "Nah, Robert. Someone's already sitting there." I looked around. The only open seats were next to Brandon or his equally smug sister, Melissa. I reached for another chair, but Melissa rolled her eyes. "That one's taken too." I stared at her. "You've got to be kidding." Brandon chuckled, leaned forward, and said, "Robert, this table is for close family. Find a seat somewhere else." A few people laughed, not everyone, but enough to make my jaw tighten. My mother looked uneasy but said nothing. My aunt wore a smug smile. My uncle shook his head as if I were some kind of problem. And Brandon looked pleased. I could have left. I probably should have. Instead, I smiled slightly. "Somewhere else, huh?" I said. "Fine, I'll stay." I grabbed a chair from a nearby table and dragged it over, setting it just outside their main group. Technically part of them, but barely. A waiter approached, looking confused, but I waved him off and ordered only a coffee. Brandon and Melissa exchanged a glance but stayed quiet. Then their real reason for inviting me became clear. I wasn't stupid. They hadn't come to reconnect. They were here to show off. Throughout the meal, they made a big show of acting rich. "I'll have the Wagyu," Brandon announced loudly, snapping his menu shut. "And the lobster. And drinks for everyone." He shot me a smug smile. "It's a special night, after all." "We should treat ourselves," Melissa added. "Get the best desserts, too," my uncle said. Plates and glasses kept coming, and the total kept climbing. I stayed quiet, slowly sipping my coffee, watching with a calm expression. When the food was gone, the glasses were empty, and everyone leaned back looking satisfied. The server came over and placed the check on the table. $2,185.50. He said it directly in front of me. Brandon stretched and said, "You've got this, right, Robert?" Melissa laughed. "Come on, that's nothing for you." No one said a word. Every set of eyes was on me, waiting. I let the silence stretch, then picked up the check, glancing at it as if the number meant something. A quiet, calm laugh slipped out. Brandon frowned. "What's so funny?" I leaned back, took another slow sip of coffee, and smiled. "Oh," I said, "you really don't know who's paying for this tonight." Then I gently slid the check back across the table, placing it right in front of Brandon. He stared at it, blinking as if he didn't understand. I sat back, watching confusion ripple across the table. "Wait, you're serious?" Brandon's voice dropped, a hint of panic creeping in as his smirk faded. I didn't answer. I kept drinking my coffee, watching his expression shift from confusion to realization, then to anger. Melissa noticed and quickly nodded toward Brandon. "Your business is doing really well, isn't it, Robert?" she said sweetly, with sarcasm underneath. "One dinner like this won't hurt." There it was, the assumption that I owed them just because I had done well. They never thought about the years of work, the struggle, or what it took to get there. They only saw what they could take. This was never about the money. It was about how they treated me like nothing, and still expected to profit from my life. Brandon spoke again, trying to sound confident, though his grin was tight. "Come on, Robert. You can handle it." He glanced at the waiter, then back at me. "Yeah, it's a big bill, but you're doing fine. Just pay it and let's go." My mother shifted in her chair. "Robert, sweetheart," she said quietly. "It's just dinner. It's family. You know how they are." Even she sounded unsure. She always tried to keep peace, never choosing sides, but this time she knew I was being used. She just didn't want to say it. I set my coffee down slowly and looked at all of them. My uncle leaned forward, his stomach pressed to the table. "Enough of this," he said gruffly. "We all know you're making good money. Stop acting like a kid and pay so we can leave." He wasn't asking. He was ordering. Others nodded. Some even smiled. They were certain I would give in, pay to keep things smooth. But I wasn't. Not after everything. Not after being the one they mocked, ignored, and used when it suited them. Watching their nerves show was almost satisfying. I smiled, small and calm. "Sure," I said evenly. "I'll cover the bill." A wave of relief moved around the table. A few even patted my back like I had saved them. But I wasn't done. Brandon brightened. "See, that wasn't so bad," he said with a fake salute. "Appreciate it, big shot." I leaned forward, still smiling. "Actually," I said, "I changed my mind. You all can pay for it. Good luck." The table went completely silent, like someone had hit a mute button. No one moved. Not a single word. Brandon's face fell, all his confidence gone. He opened his mouth to argue, but I was already standing and grabbing my jacket. I wasn't leaving yet, but I wanted them to feel every second of that moment. "Just so you know," I said quietly, "if you don't want to deal with a bill this big again, you might want to be smarter about how much you order next time." Brandon's eyes went wide with shock. He was no longer the smug cousin who used to boss me around. His jaw tightened as he looked from one person to another, clearly "You're what to do." He had expected me to stay quiet and take it like always. But this time, I was in control. I walked away from the table at a slow pace, fully aware of what was about to happen, because I had already set everything in motion. The server was still standing nearby, unsure who was going to handle the payment. Then I heard Brandon call out, "Hey," his voice sharp. "You can't just—" "I'll be right over there," I said calmly, pointing to the lounge seating off to the side. "Let me know when you've sorted it out." I kept walking. The tension behind me was thick, like heavy fog. They weren't used to this. They were used to pushing guilt onto me and watching me give in. But I wasn't playing that role anymore. Their spoiled attitudes, their belief that I owed them. Tonight, they were going to learn something different. I sat in a soft chair and looked back toward the dining room. Brandon stood nervously, tugging at his collar, whispering fast to Melissa and my mom. I couldn't hear everything, but I caught pieces of it. "Robert's not paying. He'll cover it, right? Don't upset him. We need him to handle it. Do we even have enough money?" They were panicking, trying to figure out who would pay what, counting how much they could scrape together without using their own money. They were starting to realize I wasn't going to save them. Minutes passed. I scrolled through my phone, acting like I didn't care, though I kept glancing over to watch their fear grow. The waiter hovered, probably giving them judgmental looks, waiting for someone to act. The longer it went on, the clearer it became. They had no plan. Eventually, Brandon walked over to me. He looked like he'd been through fire, his face tight with anger and regret. I stayed seated, taking my time before looking up. "What's the problem?" I asked casually. He exhaled hard, trying to stay calm. "Robert, this isn't funny. The bill is way higher than we thought. Can you just help us out this time? I mean, come on, we're family." I gave a small laugh. "I'm not joking, Brandon. You all ordered whatever you wanted without even asking if I was okay with it. Now you expect me to pay for the wine, the food, everything." He swallowed, clearly uncomfortable. "We didn't think it would end up like this. It's just one dinner. Can't you just help?" I leaned back, letting his words hang there. Same story, different night. No responsibility, no apology. They didn't care about me, only about the money. "Brandon, I'm done," I said. "You're not kids. Pay for your own things. I'm not your wallet anymore. Being related doesn't mean I owe you anything." His face hardened, the guilt gone, replaced by anger. His eyes narrowed. "You're really going to dump this whole bill on us after everything we've done for you, after all the support we gave you?" I looked at him coldly. You mean all the times you expected me to pay while you sat back acting like I owed you? That's not support, Brandon. Behind him, Melissa and my mom were watching, growing more anxious by the second. They could see control slipping away. I could almost see Melissa thinking, trying to twist the situation. My mom looked more nervous than ever. We can't just leave, Melissa suddenly said, her voice high and shaky. We're not really going to walk out on a $4,700 bill, are we? That's insane. I raised an eyebrow. No one's running out, Melissa. All of you are staying and paying. I'm done pretending everything's fine. Blood doesn't excuse using me. I'm finished with it. Brandon's face turned bright red as his frustration grew. You've got to be kidding. You're really just going to leave us like this? Now we're the ones stuck with it, Robert. And you? I was always stuck with it, I cut in. Was I the one choosing all that food? No. You all made those choices. Now deal with them. Melissa looked like she was about to speak, but my mom beat her to it, her voice trembling. Robert, please, this isn't the time. We're your family, just help us this once. You have the money. Her words hung in the air heavy. Of course they knew I had money. That's exactly the problem. They saw my success, but not the years of hard work it took to get here. They didn't see effort. They saw a free ride. I stood slowly and adjusted my jacket. No, I can't help, Mom. Brandon can. Melissa can. All of you can. I'm not cleaning up your disaster this time. I glanced at the waiter, who had been standing nearby the entire time. Clearly listening. I gave him a small nod, my way of signaling I was finished. Then I turned and walked toward the exit, never looking back. As I stepped into the night air, I heard whispers behind me. I didn't stop. Footsteps followed, slowing my pace. But I still didn't look back. They had brought this on themselves. Now it was time for them to deal with it. Soon I reached the parking lot. With my hands in my coat pockets, I stared silently at my car. Then I heard rapid footsteps and the click of heels behind me. Melissa's voice called out, "Robert, wait!" I didn't respond. My heartbeat was steady. I was calm, but I could hear the panic in her voice. She was trying to pull me back into the same mess I was done with. "Robert," she called again, voice trembling. "You can't just leave us like this. This is serious." I spun around, cutting her off. "You think I don't know what's serious, Melissa? You think I can't see exactly what you're trying to do?" She froze, stunned. Neither of us spoke. The wind rustled through the trees, and tension filled the space between us. She searched for words, but I didn't let her speak. "Not this time. You've been taking advantage of me for so long," I said quietly, but firmly. "Every time something happens, it's always Robert will handle it, right? Never, hey Robert, how are you doing? It's always about what I can give. I've had enough." Her eyes flickered, guilt showing for a moment, but she quickly replaced it with anger. "You can't just abandon us like this," she snapped, voice rising. "We're depending on you. You can't just walk out on your own family when things go wrong." I clenched my jaw but stayed calm. "I'm not leaving my family, Melissa. I'm walking away from people who think I owe them everything. This isn't about love, it's about control. And I'm finally done letting you treat me like I'm your backup plan." She froze, her face red, clearly unsure of what to say next. Before she could speak again, Brandon and my mom came rushing out of the restaurant. Brandon looked a mess, shirt half untucked, face full of panic. My mom looked scared and guilty at the same time. Her eyes found me immediately. "Robert, please," she said, her voice breaking. "We don't know what to do. We can't pay. You're the only one who can help us." Her words reached me, but not in the way she expected. A strange calm washed over me as I watched them panic. They had pushed me for years, always expecting me to give in. Now, finally, they were seeing that everything comes with a price.
You seriously think I'm going to fix this for you again?
I said, my voice dropping. "You really believe this is just about money? It's not. This is about dignity. This is about you finally understanding that I worked incredibly hard for everything I have. And no, you don't get to keep taking from me when life doesn't go your way." Brandon stepped toward me, hands slightly raised, pleading. "Robert, don't do this. We're your family. Try to understand. This isn't just about the cost. It's about—" "Stop," I said sharply, cutting him off. "Brandon, for you. It's always been about money. The moment you figured I'd cover it, I stopped being your brother and became your personal ATM. Brandon's face twisted. He opened his mouth, then closed it, as if the words wouldn't come. He couldn't believe this was real, that I was standing up to him, that I wasn't caving. I looked at my mom. She was panicked, eyes flicking between me and the restaurant entrance, probably hoping I'd change my mind and go back to rescue them. But I wasn't doing that, not this time. You created this mess, I said, turning my back to them. Now it's yours to clean up. I'm finished. Before they could react, I opened my car door, slid into the seat and started the engine. The soft hum of the motor filled the space between us. I glanced in the rearview mirror. They were still frozen in place. I didn't feel bad. Not at all. They had their chance. As I drove away, a strange feeling washed over me, freedom. For once, I wasn't the one being taken advantage of. I wasn't paying for everyone else's mess. And as the restaurant shrank in my mirror, I knew I had finally done what I should have done years ago. They had pushed me too far. Now they had to deal with it. Not long after, my phone started buzzing. I didn't answer. Let them try. Let them message. I wasn't responding anymore. But of course, they didn't stop. By the time I got home, there were 6 missed calls from Mom, 4 from Brandon, and a message from Melissa. Robert, we're really sorry. Please come back. We'll pay you back. Don't leave us like this. I stared at the screen for a moment, my fingers hovering over the reply button. I didn't type anything. They still didn't understand how badly they had messed up. I dropped my phone onto the couch, grabbed a beer from the fridge, and sat down. My apartment was quiet. I could hear a few cars passing outside, the low hum of the fridge, and nothing else. The silence felt better than the chaos I had just left behind. After a few minutes, I started to feel something else. Peace. Not just about the money. This wasn't about the $4,700 anymore. It was about finally saying no. About standing up for myself. Something I had never truly done before. Then my phone buzzed again. Another text from Melissa. This one short and direct. We can't pay the bill. It's $4,700. Please help. That was it. I stared at the message for a while. It felt surreal. $4,700. The same amount they had casually expected me to cover earlier, as if it were nothing. I remembered how they treated it like just another night out, assuming I would handle it. I didn't feel even a hint of guilt. I took another sip of my beer, leaned back, and waited for what I knew was coming. Sure enough, a few minutes later, my phone rang. Brandon again. I picked up. Robert, he said right away, his voice tight with stress. Okay, we get it. You're upset, but we need help. We can't cover this. You're the only one who can fix it. His panic was clear. I could feel it. It almost made me laugh, but I didn't. I already told you, I said calmly. This is your mess. Fix it yourselves. But Robert, you don't understand, he said, his voice rising. This is family, Brandon shouted, the words tumbling out. You're really going to abandon us like this after everything we've been through together? Everything we've been through? I repeated, stunned. You mean all the times you treated me like a walking cash machine? The constant demands wrapped in guilt and pressure? That's what you call shared experience? He didn't answer right away. There was only silence, then a long breath. That's not what I meant, Robert. Come on. We're not trying to use you. We just need a little help. Help? I said, my voice sharp. What I've been doing for years wasn't helping, Brandon. It was making it easy for you to avoid growing up. And guess what? You're not kids anymore. If I keep stepping in, you'll never deal with your own mess. No words came from his end. The silence was thick. He didn't argue this time. I could tell the truth had landed, even if he didn't want to accept it. Take care, Brandon, I said, my voice firm and distant. You're going to need it. Before he could reply, I ended the call. The rest of my evening was calm. I drank my beer, put something on to watch, and didn't think twice about what was happening back at the restaurant. Later that night, my phone buzzed again. One last message from Mom. Robert, please, if you're still hurt, we'll try to make things right. Just come back and take care of the check. I didn't reply. They were going to deal with this without me. By the next day, I heard what had happened. They couldn't cover the bill and had to start calling their own friends, begging for help. I even learned they had to apply for a loan just to pay part of it. The worst part was what the restaurant manager did. Apparently, he confronted them, called them out for pretending to be a close family while dumping the cost on someone else, for taking advantage of others instead of being accountable. It was humiliating. As for me, I felt nothing. No regret, no guilt, because the best part wasn't watching them panic or walking away. It was finally being in control. It was setting a boundary and refusing to let it be crossed. That moment was worth more than the overpriced dinner they expected me to pay for. I wasn't their backup anymore. And after everything I'd been through, I learned something important. Sometimes the most honest way to care about family is to stop rescuing them, especially when they refuse to learn, even if it means watching them fall. I had done everything I could. Now it was their turn to face the consequences.